Coach, if you want to just start with the opening statement, then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, it's good being back out at practice. The guys are excited to have a future, goal and end game getting into this first game with USC, and you can feel the energy. Guys are out here. We're getting into this first part of camp, and as an offense, the big part is to get that organization and try to make it as game-like as possible. And so that's what we're trying to do in every aspect. And but it's good to see the energy, and it's good to see those guys flying around and learning from every practice.
All right, let's start with Jeff Metcalf.
Zach, Herman said a few things about Johnny Wilson and Bunkley Shelton. Can you just talk about them and what it's like to integrate them as quickly as you can into the offense?
Yeah, Johnny's done a really good job. He's a big threat and tall guy that can run, and he's showed that he can make some big plays already. In some of the helmet practices that we've been in. Now, obviously, he's still young and learning and making mistakes, and that's part of the process. But he's one of those guys that is very competitive, and he wants to win. He wants to compete every day. He doesn't take plays off. And now we're getting into that football shape even more through these first practices. I think he's feeling that a little bit too, which is good. And then LV, he's one of those guys that prepared himself really well coming into camp, and he treats every day very professionally. So he always is thinking about what he puts in his body, about the work and the process of what we're going to put in for the day. He's very detailed in his preparation, and you can tell on the field because he plays fast, and when he knows what's going on, man, he's very agile and pretty shifty dude. So he's going to be fun to get into the mix and see where he progresses through this fall camp.
Hode Rubino.
Hi, Zach. I know that much has been said about the fact that ASU was able to put in more spring practices than any other Pac-12 team. And when you couple that with being able to have all the walkthroughs uninterrupted, do you see the benefits of what happened back in late February, early March, paying dividends now in September and October?
There are definite benefits. Getting those spring practices for those guys for the first time, feeling that tempo, feeling that pace, feeling the operation, and then using those Zoom meetings and the Corona time that we spent as an offense meeting on Zoom, or when we finally got back in the building, extending those meetings and walkthroughs. And now that we're on the field and actually seeing it pay off, it's one thing to do it, to talk about it, but it's also another thing to be out on the field and actually doing it. So now we got to catch up to that game speed a little bit more, put it all together. And, just the more reps, the better for us right now.
Chris Cartman.
Hey, Zach. The addition of Rashad White, what type of back would you say that he is? How does he fit in with the other backs that you have? And just your ability to kind of utilize those different types of weapons?
Yeah, he's an exciting player. He's got a great demeanor about him too, so he fits in our locker room. The guys like him, but he's got good speed and he can make people miss and uses his natural vision to kind of set things up. And, he's one of those guys that learns it quick, and he loves football. Ultimately he loves to study. He loves to be out there with the guys, and they've accepted him, and that's a really good group of running backs right now. I know Coach is feeling very happy adding him to the mix.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, just the complementary sort of nature of the pieces that you have to work with there. Do you see those guys kind of fitting in cohesively with the whole offense?
I think so. Yeah, they're great guys in that room, and they understand winning, but they also understand competition. We want to win as a team, and we want to be tight as a unit, but ultimately they're competing in that room for every rep they get, which makes them better, and that's what we want. So it's an exciting room, and there's good competition in there, but they're helping each other, and Coach Iguano does a phenomenal job with those guys.
Doug, go ahead.
Hi, Zach. Good to see you. Just with the season, the off-season training being as it was, just getting back started again, what's your biggest concern right now as far as getting everything in place?
I think the biggest concern is just making sure we're utilizing our personnel, as a coach, making sure that what we're putting in fits the games that we're going into, but also how we're going to use those, the personnel, and not just running plays to run plays. And trying to see from my standpoint, now that we're back out on the field, all right, who can make plays? Who are our playmakers? Who do we need to get the ball to? And then, utilizing those guys in the right way.
Jordan Ham.
Hey, Zach. Just overall, how would you assess where the offensive line is, and as they're kind of getting together with the grad transfers and some of the more established guys along the line?
It was good getting the grad transfers in there, creates a little bit more depth. And, right now too, there's some good competition in that room, for who fits where. And we're trying to find out the best pieces of that 5-man puzzle up front. And, both Kellen and Henry, have done a good job of learning the offense, and they're still doing it. Every practice they're still learning. But, they're helping, being an older crew, those two guys, setting the tone a little bit from, having some experience, helping the younger guys out. And then we're just trying to feel out, again, the best 5, and then who that 6th, 7th, is in there, and then letting those guys compete. And it's different. Right now we're in helmets. We're waiting to get into pads, and that obviously changes a whole lot for the offensive line and the physicality, of practice. So it's still kind of a work in progress. The main thing is that we're communicating, and that those guys are doing a good job of understanding the installs. And then once we put the pads on here next week, that'll tell us a whole lot as coaches.
Jesse Morrison.
Hey, Coach. I know that at Boise State you like to throw the ball. Obviously, Herm, is a guy that like to, stick on the ground a lot. How do you plan on just, balancing the offense?
Well, I think we like to throw the ball, but we also like to run the ball too. So we're just trying to keep teams off balance. I think that's the biggest thing as an offense. And each game's different. You go into one game, you may feel really good about the run game. Now you go in another game, you may feel really good about the pass game. But it's about keeping a defense off balance. And I think we have the tools to be able to do that within our offense. And then it's also in game. You got to make those adjustments. What's working, what's not. What do we need to get to? Who do we need to get the ball to? Things like that. But we want to be balanced as an offense and make it hard for a defense to be able to, know what we're getting into.
Hode.
Zach, in terms of the tight ends, I know there's been a concerted effort to really upgrade that position, not only through the recruiting class, even brought a grad transfer in Kyle Horn. Can you talk about that position and what you're seeing from it early on in preseason practices?
Like Coach Edwards says all the time, it's about competition, and creating more competition in that room is the goal. And then finding out who are the guys that are, mentally and physically tough, the guys that can figure it out. Because that's a tough position. There's a lot to it. There's run block and pass block and, pass protection and figuring out all that, the run schemes that we're doing. And so there's a lot to it, and Coach Hagan's doing a great job with trying to get those guys right and figuring out combinations. And now that we got more in the room, and now it's eval time, for this early fall camp, and seeing who can pick it up the quickest. Because it's an intricate offense, and there's a lot to it at that position. But adding, Kyle Horn to the mix, he's a big, strong guy that can run, and he catches the ball pretty well. He's already shown the ability to make plays. So now it's how quickly can he learn it? And then, those guys in that position too are also, they're going, whoa, there's another guy. Here comes another one. So now here we go. Create some opportunities for some guys, but also nobody can be just, sitting back and knowing that they got the job.
Chris.
Coach, what were you hoping to really get accomplished with Jaden from, say, the conclusion of spring ball to now to get him as ready as he could be for what's ahead? And how do you think that that's actually looking to your eye?
it's always a work in progress, with the new offense and a quarterback. And Jane's doing a really good job of picking things up and picking out the operation of everything. And now it's just, fine tuning stuff. He knows the offense as far as what we've put in. We've gone through it multiple times, and now it's when to use certain things. When do I check? When do I use signal adjust? Whatever it is within the offense. Now it's detailing that stuff up and then showing him the looks like why we're getting to this or how this signal adjust helps in this certain situation or why we're checking it on this play. So it's more just the fine details that we're trying to iron out and putting him in situations in practice where, hey, now what were you thinking on that play? Okay, here's the way we need to be thinking on this. So just trying to tie the thought process, the pre-snap plan.
Jeff Metcalf.
What's it just feel like for you to be out there? I mean, you've had to sit back and watch other teams playing. Teams are playing today. What's just the emotional part of being back out there, moving toward actually playing a game?
Well, I think first off, it's exciting knowing we're going to get a play and moving towards that. It was frustrating initially, where you see other teams play and you're not. And I know the kids felt that too. But now for us, and I'm just speaking about the Sun Devils, we got to stay focused on the day-to-day. What's happening today, getting better today, and then we move forward from there. It's just a daily process. And once we get into game week, we'll feel the energy of game week and a day at a time until we get to game day.
All right, we're going to do the last question here with Doug Haller.
Zach, so much attention's been put on the freshman receivers, but what about that second group from last year, Ricky, Jordan Porter, even Andre, just how they progressed from where they were at the end of last year to where they are now?
Another room, very competitive. They've got to really earn those reps, and Ricky and GP and Andre and those guys and Frank, obviously Frank has the most experience, out there, and he's the spark plug of the group. But those other guys, they're competing, and that's nice that we've got some young guys that are pushing them, and that room is becoming more and more competitive. And they're starting to see how we're personnel and things, and like, okay, well, how come I'm not at this spot or whatever? And now you got to go out to practice and you got to prove it every single day. And so, we always say iron sharpens iron. So we're going against a very good defense. We got a good defensive secondary. Coach AP and Marv are doing a great job with that crew. And so we're going against a defense that can give you problems. And we've got very good personnel on that side of the field too. So, it's a fun group to work with. I know they're excited for opportunities, but also they gotta work for what opportunities they get.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Zach.
Thanks, guys.